change through personal and professional development. I think I have removed my slides. Yes, okay. So she leads the IIBA South Africa strategy, and she's and is focused on connecting the community of business analysis professional, increasing the IIBA membership value, and supporting the volunteer base. She maximizes skills development in the profession, and she's growing the IIBA footprint across South Africa. Under her leadership, the chapter won the 2022 Global Award for Best Business Partner for demonstrating the highest degree and ability to build mutually beneficial business relationships in the community. She has dedicated her career to advancing the field of business analysis and helping organizations make the most of their resources while enhancing customer experience and improving sustainability. She has over 10 years of experience in the banking domain. She's also worked in retail, business banking. She's done corporate and investment banking. She has deep understanding of unique challenges faced by financial institutions in today's rapidly changing business environment. Can I see accolades and clapping as I read out her bio? I'm not feeling you guys this evening. She's a certified business analyst. She has worked as a BA for the most of her career while also gaining experience in process reengineering, product ownership, and solution design in the bank's digital transformation projects. In the spirit of continuous learning, she's been part of 2 leadership development programs, one focused on women leaders. She's also currently studying towards her MBA. Oh, wow. She has a degree in financial information systems. She has a postgraduate diploma in business management. She's earned the Lean Six Sigma belt and a Prince 2 Foundation certificate, amongst many others. She's a leader, a change maker. She's a trusted advisor and a go-to person in her field. She humbly attributes her success to her positive energy and willingness to learn and her can-do attitude. Again, join me once again to welcome our speaker this evening.
Thank you so much, Oge. I really appreciate the warm welcome and the beautiful introduction as well. Earlier on, I did meet some of the people on the call. So for anyone that I have not met earlier on, welcome. And thank you so much for joining this conversation. I'm going to share my screen so we can start.
Are you start the record?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Right. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes. Please.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start. Welcome again to everybody, and thank you for joining this conversation. The Halifax chapter is an amazing chapter. I've been actually speaking with Oge since last year. Oge was part of our BA Summit, which is a yearly event that we host from an IBA perspective. It was our first physical event, and Oge managed to join us virtually. I think it's very important to be part of a community, and I hope and trust that everybody on this call is connected to the Halifax chapter or any other chapter, because I know there's people from Los Angeles as well. So I trust that you will remain connected to the chapter that you're closest to for gaining, with equally or like-minded individuals. Without going into a sales pitch, I want to actually discuss the pitfalls of solving a problem that you don't understand. Before I get into that, I want to just speak on another aspect that I think is very important to share, which is the business analysis the Global State of Business Analysis report. So in this report, part of my conversation actually stemmed from this report. In this report, you'll see that they speak of the top competencies or the tasks that need to be performed by a business analyst. And on page 16, one of those is problem solving. If you move to the next page, on page 18, again, they speak of the top competencies that a business analyst should have. Again, one of them is problem solving. If you move to page 19 of the Global State of Business Analysis report, again, it's repeated the top competencies of business analysts. And again, it's problem solving, amongst many others. And if you continue on with the top skills, hard and soft skills that are required to succeed or to be a successful business analyst, problem solving is one of them. So it's extremely timely and important conversation for us to have to enable you to develop the skills and the strategies that you'll be equipped with to solve problems better. Now, the conversation, the pitfalls of solving a problem you don't understand. I think as explained also by the Global State of Business Analysis and many other sources, there are many problems with solving a problem that you don't understand. If you rush into solving a problem without fully understanding it, you risk making things worse rather than better. In fact, attempting to solve a problem without a clear understanding of what the problem is can be a recipe for disaster. So today, I'm going to share with you some of the most common pitfalls and dangers of attempting to solve a problem you don't understand, and more importantly, how to avoid them. By the end of this talk, hopefully, you will have a better understanding of the risks involved in solving a problem you don't understand, and most importantly, how to avoid these pitfalls. So let's dive in and explore the pitfalls of solving a problem you don't understand and discover how to avoid those pitfalls. Just to give you a structure of the presentation, I've spoken a bit about what I'll be sharing. Over and above that, there'll be ad breaks. The ad breaks are just quotes that I really love and I just thought to share because I felt it important as part of this conversation. And then there'll also be a case study or two to just enable us to better understand, what real life problems look like. So let's start. What do most organizations do when they are faced with a problem? Feel free to add your opinions or your views on the chat as well while we're having the conversation. So what I found is the problem that most organizations and sometimes even people do when trying to solve a problem that they don't understand is that they tend to jump into solution mode. And that happens quite commonly, or it happens quite a lot across many industries as well. And it even happens to business analysts as well. Now, there are obvious problems with jumping into solution mode, and I'll just list some of them. The first one is assumptions. So solution mode or jumping into solution mode is riddled with assumptions, limited understanding of constraints and dependencies, and it doesn't motivate people to innovate or even to think. The other problem is biases, cognitive biases. What are cognitive biases? So cognitive biases are the filters that people use to assess situations based on their personal experiences and preferences. The type of cognitive biases include confirmation bias. What is confirmation bias? Confirmation bias is a tendency to interpret, favor, and recall information in a way that confirms one's prior beliefs and values. The other one is availability bias. And what is that? Is when you think you've seen the problem before, and therefore what's available is your previous conception of it. Other biases that are based on hierarchies, there are other biases that are based on your hierarchies. So who's the top boss? There's culture as well, or the status quo, there's bias on that. There's also bandwagon bias as well. If this one says this is the solution, then let's all go with it. And there are many other biases that we need to be cognizant of. But all in all, biases can alter your creative problem-solving juices and approaches. The other problem with jumping into solution mode is that there's a lack of understanding of the depth and the breadth and the context of the problems. Problems are quite dynamic, so they're constantly changing. The other thing with problems, or the other problem with problems, is that they're cyclical, so they occur in cycles. And also problems are quite interconnected. So one problem can lead to another problem. And as a result, solutions are not definitive or definite, and they need to be revisited over time to confirm applicability. The other problem with jumping straight into solution mode is ego. It lacks humility, and that will eventually inhibit you from creating a new reality because you didn't take the time, the energy, and the devotion to reflect on the problem. The other one, or the last one, is simplism. And what is simplism? So simplism is the illusion of simplicity without the hard work. There's a line that I really love, and it's simplicity is the art of sophistication. I love that line. I'll say it again. Simplicity is the art of sophistication. However, this line gets confused with simplism, meaning the illusion of simplicity without the hard work. We must recognize and accept that for things to be simple, it takes effort and willingness amongst many other factors. So all in all, jumping into solution mode delays the right solution indefinitely as well. Let's move on to an ad break before we continue. The next ad break is a business can only become as big as the size of the problem that it solves. So what does that mean? That means that success and growth of a business is directly tied to the size and the complexity of the problem that it solves. In the business world, companies that solve big and complex problems are often the ones that achieve the most success and growth. When a company can provide a unique and effective solution to a problem that many people are struggling with, it may and can attract a large and loyal customer base, which will then lead to increased revenues, profits, and even market share. However, it's important to note that solving big problems is not easy. It often requires significant investment of time, resources, and expertise to develop and implement effective solutions. Businesses that can successfully navigate these challenges can establish themselves as leaders in the industry and build a reputation for innovation, creativity, and excellence. I think it's important to also understand why organizations rush into solution mode, or why people rush into solution mode. The first one is corruption. So you'll find that the top executives may have received brown envelopes from a particular supplier of a product or a service. And then they will ship that preferred supplier product or service to the organization, and the organization is forced to find a problem for that solution, irrespective of the fact that that problem, or that solution does not fit the uniqueness of the problem in that organization. So corruption plays a big factor in why some organizations rush into solution mode. There are other factors, for instance, the pressures from the stakeholder. So organizations sometimes feel pressure from stakeholders. Those stakeholders could be customers, it could be investors, it could be regulators. And these people or these organizations or stakeholders will rush you to fix the problem quickly. These pressures can cause then the organization to rush into finding a solution without fully understanding the problem. The other problem, or the other reason why organizations tend to rush into solution mode, is fear of negative consequences. Organizations may rush to fix a problem because they fear the negative consequences if they don't. The other problem is lack of understanding of the problem, and I think I shared that as well in the previous slide, where you lack the understanding of the breadth and the depth and the context of that particular problem. So sometimes organizations may not fully understand the problem they are trying to solve. Then this leads them to rush into finding a solution without taking the time to fully diagnose the issue. Another issue is overconfidence in their abilities. Organizations may be overconfident in their abilities to solve problems quickly. They may believe that they have the knowledge and the expertise to quickly address any issue that arises without fully understanding the problem or its root causes. The other issue could be culture of action. In some organizations, there may be a culture of action that values quick decision-making and problem-solving. This culture can lead to a rush to find a solution without fully understanding the problem or its implications. The other issue is lack of resources. Organizations may not have the resources such as time, not all organizations that is, may not have the resources such as time, money, or even the staff to fully investigate and diagnose a problem. This can then lead to a rush in finding a solution without fully understanding the problem. Other issues are fear of appearing incompetent. Organizations may be worried about appearing incompetent or inefficient if they can't quickly resolve a problem. This fear then leads them to rush to find a solution, even if they don't fully understand the problem. The other one is ineffective communication. Poor communication within the organization. Poor communication can also lead to a lack of clarity about the problem and its implications. This can lead to a rush to find a solution without fully understanding the problem or involving the right stakeholders. Then there's competitive pressures and lack of prioritization. I'm not going to go into the detail in the interest of time, but there are many reasons, as you can, as I've tried to highlight, why organizations will rush into solution mode. It doesn't make it right. Fixing a problem quickly doesn't mean it fixes it correctly, and vice versa. Fixing a problem correctly doesn't necessarily mean that it will be fixed quickly. Another ad break. Today's problems come from yesterday's solutions. So what does this mean to you? Feel free to add that on the chat. So what that means is that past decisions affect future progress. It's very, very important when you seek to address problems and find solutions that you must be mindful of any potential unintended consequences of our actions. We must consider the long-term impact of our solutions and be willing to adapt and change course when new problems arise. Today's problems come from yesterday's solution reminds us of the importance of taking a more comprehensive and holistic approach to problem solving. We must strive to find solutions that not only address the immediate problem, but also consider the long-term impact and potential of unintended consequences of our actions. Now, let's continue on. What is now the problem with solving a problem that you don't understand? Feel free, as I mentioned, to add your comments and views as well on the chat as you continue. The problem with solving a problem that you don't understand is that it can create more problems. So when you attempt to solve a problem without understanding it fully, it can lead to unintended consequences and create new problems. So without a clear understanding of the problem and its root causes, your solution may be incomplete or even counterproductive. The other problem with solving a problem that you don't understand is that it wastes resources. Rushing to find a solution without understanding the problem can waste resources such as time, money, and staff. The other issue is that it damages your reputation. So attempting to solve a problem without understanding it can damage your reputation, especially if your solution is ineffective or creates new problems. This can lead to a loss of trust, or it can create a trust deficit that will eventually erode credibility with your stakeholders, ultimately making it more difficult to gain support for your solutions and achieve buy-in from key stakeholders in the future. The other issue is that it overlooks root causes and it erodes the missed opportunities. So focusing on a problem without fully understanding it can cause you to miss opportunities to address the real issues. You may overlook key factors or fail to consider alternative approaches that could lead to a more effective solution. The other problem with solving a problem that you don't understand is that it frustrates your stakeholders. Attempting to solve a problem without fully understanding it can lead to frustration among stakeholders who are impacted by your problem. Your solution may not address their concerns or may create new problems for them to deal with. It also lacks innovation. Without a clear understanding of the problem, you may miss opportunities to innovate and develop creative solutions. This can result in solutions that are outdated or ineffective, leading to a lack of progress and failure to achieve your desired outcomes. The other issue or the other problem with solving a problem that you don't understand is that it ignores feedback. If you don't fully understand the problem, you may not be open to feedback from stakeholders or subject matter experts. This may result in a failure to incorporate their valuable insights and perspectives that could lead to a much better solution. On the next slide, I want to speak about the cost identification and estimation. So when you solve a problem that you don't fully understand, you're at risk of making costly mistakes and potentially creating bigger problems than what you started with. As you can see, this is just a graph, or this is indication of some of the issues, both tangible and intangible costs that are related to solving a problem that you don't understand. One of them is labor cost from a tangible cost perspective. I'll give you let's take it one back. Let's take it that you are solving for company A, and company A has a problem, but you don't fully understand the problem, or you are solving for the problem, but it's the wrong problem that you're solving for. So what are the tangible costs that are associated with you solving for the wrong problem? The first one is labor costs. Because that organization will hire people, right? And those people are all working towards the wrong problem, so they still have to pay for them. There's also material costs, which could be your software cost, your hardware cost, your infrastructure costs. There's also security costs, legal costs, travel costs, property costs. The list is endless for the tangible cost around solving for a problem that you don't understand. We can also then move on to the next section, which is your intangible costs. And this example is an estimate. So we've estimated that the intangible cost of solving a problem for company A that you don't understand is about $40 million. I had to convert that from rand to dollars in my head. So the intangible costs include loss of morale, enthusiasm, inspiration, and passion from your resources or the staff that are actually helping you to achieve that particular goal. There's also loss of potential future revenue, because the chances of people buying from you, if you're not solving the initial problem or the primary problem, is limited. So you may not get the same clients again. There's also opportunity cost, loss of other alternatives. There's also loss of current customers due to the fact that you've solved a problem that you didn't understand. You solved the wrong problem. You didn't meet their needs. So the chance of them staying or continuing to buy from you, buy your services or products, is limited. So you could potentially lose those. There's also the technical debt and also additional rework. Sometimes you may have to decommission it if it was completely out or misaligned with the user's needs. So you may need to rework that solution. There's also loss of irrecoverable time. You just can't recover the time that the people that you employed to help with the solution worked. The other issue is reputational damage. If people know that they waited for a particular product and it just doesn't solve the issue, the problem, it could cause reputational issues. So if you look at the example above and then try to actually cost it, which means the cost of actually solving the wrong problem or the cost of actually solving a problem you don't understand, you're looking at the financial cost. So if you look at it, the project cost or the tangible cost, we initially said is an example of $100 million. As company A, we expected a return on investment of 15%. However, the actual return of investment for fixing or solving a problem that you don't understand, or solving the wrong problem was a minus 100%. The opportunity cost was minus 15%, which means the total cost of solving a problem that you don't understand or solving the wrong problem is minus 115%. So in monetary terms, that means you have minus 115 million as a total cost. And I haven't even included the tangible costs of 40 million. So if you take the 150 million and you add again to the estimated intangible cost, you've lost so much more as an organization from solving a problem that you don't understand. This simply means, or the slide simply means that it's incredibly important for you as a business analyst, for you as an aspiring business analyst, for you as a problem solver to understand the problem that you're solving for, failure to which will cause a lot of issues. In my next slide, I'll show some examples of the type of issues that real life organizations have faced from solving a problem A, they don't understand, or B, the wrong problem. So just some headlines. These are some of the organizations that solved a problem A, that they didn't understand, B, they solved the wrong problem. I'm not going to speak to all of the examples in the interest of time. Let's start with Volkswagen. They, in 2015, the German automaker Volkswagen admitted to installing defeat devices in millions of diesel vehicles in order to cheat on the emissions test. The company had attempted to fix a problem with its diesel engine's emissions without fully understanding it, which led to use of illegal methods. The scandal resulted in billions of dollars in fines and significant hit to Volkswagen reputation and the resignation of several top executives. So sometimes if you're solving a if you're solving the problem of profit without considering the corporate social responsibilities, you could be solving the wrong problem. And that's why I said earlier on that you need to be very holistic and comprehensive in your problem-solving strategies. Another example is Nokia. I'm sure a lot of you have owned a Nokia phone in the past. So in the early 2000s, the Finnish telecommunications company Nokia dominated the mobile phone market. However, the rise of the smartphones and touchscreens caught the company off guard, and it attempted to fix the problem by developing its own touchscreen technology. However, the company didn't fully understand the technology, and the resulting products were inferior to those of competitors like Apple and Samsung. Nokia eventually sold its mobile phone business to Microsoft at a significant loss. My last example is Kodak. So for much of the 20th century, Kodak was the dominant player in the photography industry. However, the company failed to understand the shift to digital photography and attempted to fix the problem by focusing on film-based products. The company didn't fully understand the potential of digital photography. And as a result, it missed out on a major opportunity. Kodak eventually filed for bankruptcy in 2012. I'm hoping these examples show you the risk associated with solving a problem that you don't fully understand. The other examples that you can see on the screen speak to Eskom. Eskom is the company that generates electricity in South Africa. At the moment in South Africa, we are struggling to have electricity. We have what we call load shedding, where you need to share the electricity. And that means there's certain hours of the day where you don't have electricity, and the stages differ depending on how much capacity is at the grid. I'll speak to this problem in the case study in the next slide, so you can have a much holistic and better understanding of the problem. So from an Eskom perspective, I spoke about the fact that Eskom is a company that is supposed to supply electricity to South African homes. Unfortunately, it is not doing so at full capacity and all the time. So then if you had to look at it as a business analyst, how would you go about looking at the problem with Eskom, or the problem with them not solving the problem of electricity? Because if you understand the issue, or if you understand the organization, it's an electricity generating company. that is the solution that they're providing to the service or to the clients. However, they're failing to provide that solution. And now you need, as a business analyst, to dig deeper as to why they could potentially be failing. So I've just listed the potential questions that you can ask as a business analyst to better understand the problem before jumping into a solution mode. One of the problems could be leadership, management, and employee skill set, meaning that the people employed to solve the problem or provide the solution are not fully equipped to do so. They don't have the tools, they don't have the techniques to fully solve for the problem. It could be a culture issue. Maybe they have a culture of, the problem is, from a South African perspective, we've had this issue for over 15 years. So maybe the culture has shifted and adjusted to, it's always been like this. This problem has always existed. So we don't really have to rush into fixing it because the South African community are used to the problem. It could be issues of capacity constraints due to population size. In South Africa, there's about 59 million residents or people that live in South Africa. And maybe the problem is that there's not enough capacity for the population of South Africa. The other issue that it could be maintenance. Maybe they were not maintaining the power plants well enough in order for them to continue to generate the electricity that we require. The other issue could be corruption, sabotage, or even theft. I don't know. The other issue could be the operating model. They've got 3 pillars, which is generation, transmission, and distribution. Maybe they need to unbundle this operating model and create newer ones that will solve for the problem. I don't know. And that's the beauty of trying to solve for a problem. You have to accept that you don't know. If you can start off at that perspective, so you let go of your confirmation biases and your availability biases, and you let go of your ego, and you come at, I don't know. Let's unpack it as a team. Let's collaborate on this. It really helps make the solution stick better. It helps make the solution more sustainable. The other issues with regards to Eskom could be structural impediments to economic growth, could be the fact that there's weak infrastructure or low levels of technology and innovation. We don't really know. The other issue is that it could be the dependence on Western aid and investment, what I'll call the political obstacles. So I think this tends to happen in not just the South African context, but in many other African countries. There tends to be a dependence on Western aid and investment. And as you know, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So the aid comes with some obligation. There's some ask with this aid. And in a South African context perspective, maybe, I don't know, maybe the ask is that we need to give of our coal, a very high quality coal, to those countries that are aiding us. In South Africa, we've got about 300 years worth of coal. So you can just imagine the amount of natural resources that we have. And that's just coal. There's many others. So it's a natural resource rich country. However, as rich as it is as a country, we're still struggling with electricity. With 300 years worth of coal. How does that make sense? Could be that, as I said, we are now giving off our best coal to the aiders, and we are now keeping the low quality coal and using it, and that could be causing obstacles in the machinery that is required. These are just possibilities that I'm putting out there. There's nothing that's confirmed. The other issue is that there could be high levels of debt caused by high unemployment and underemployment. What that means is that if there's high levels of debt, people do not have the cash or the reserves to pay for the service, which means people are getting a service that they're not paying for, which means the organization, Eskom, is unable to continue to be a going concern if it does not generate enough profit, revenue, market share in order to continue to operate. And in South Africa, we actually do have a high unemployment and underemployment issue. So it could be that that is also a contributing factor. But all in all we know is that there's about 40 billion, yes, billion, it's about 40 billion loss. There was 40 billion loss that was recorded in the financial year 2021 and 2020. So what that shows you is that Eskom is running at a loss. And not only is it running at a loss, but it's also not solving the problem of electricity supply. As I sit here, my electricity could go off any moment, but I've made some plans around it. But wait, I've not made some plans. At this point, I've checked the schedule and I'm not going to be load shed. But what I'm trying to say is that when you actually are a business analyst or a problem solver, you need to go into this type of detail. And this is just one example. You need to go into this type of detail to try and understand the problem more intricately, more holistically, more comprehensively, so that, as I mentioned, the solution that you're going to provide is going to stick and be more sustainable. Let's move on to an ad break. The next ad break is a quote that I really love. Culture eats strategy for breakfast and transformation for lunch. What does that mean? So culture eats strategy for breakfast and transformation for lunch means that it highlights that culture can shape your organization and it can be used as a driving force to success. The idea behind the saying is that no matter how well crafted a company's strategy is, it is ultimately, no matter how well crafted its strategy is, it will ultimately fail if the culture does not support it. Similarly, if a company attempts to undergo a significant transformation without first addressing its culture, the effort is likely to be unsuccessful. So you need to address, I think I showed in the previous slide, culture needs to also be addressed because as the saying goes, it can eat your strategy, and meaning that you will not be able to derive the benefit of your strategies and your transformation goals due to the culture. So it needs to be something that is addressed. Let's move on to another case study, maybe a case study that you'll be more familiar with, Meta. So a lot of you know Mark Zuckerberg. So he started an organization called Facebook, and then he also created the mother body, which is called Meta. And Meta, amongst many other things, is a decentralized and democratic form of the internet, or what they call a virtual world. So he created this virtual world, and unfortunately, he had to, late last year, he had to lay off a large portion, or should I say some portion of his staff complement. And then you ask yourself, why would he have to lay people off? And one of the reasons could be that they created these virtual world, which is the next big thing, just for the sake of creating the next big thing. And there was not a real problem for that solution. So real problems are very important in solving solutions or in coming up with solutions. So why did 68% of the Americans feel uninterested in Zuckerberg's Meta vision? As I said, it could be that they just created it for the sake of creating it, and it didn't solve any immediate problem. People have real life problems and they want to fix them as quickly as they possibly can. And going into the virtual world may be a nice to have at the moment, but not really a need for them, which means that problem solving can also, as I said, be cyclical. There could be a time for it. At this point in time, there's far bigger problems than moving into the virtual world. And this is just an opinion. All in all, we know that the market share value plunged to 700 billion from its peak. And also 200 billion was lost post the release of its financial year 2021 results, which then shoved 9.2 billion in metaverse related losses, which also then ultimately resulted in layoffs. So it's very, very important as a business analyst, as a problem solver, to ensure that the problem that you're solving is a real problem that will solve real tangible issues that people are facing. Moving on to another ad break. Technologies do not exist for technology's sake. It exists to solve customer problems, going back as well to the metaverse. So technology doesn't just exist. This is actually a very powerful reminder that ultimately the purpose of technology is to serve people and not the other way around. Technology is not an end in itself, but it's rather a means to an end that can solve problems and create value for the customers. So let's move on to how we as business analysts can help in solving the right problems or in solving problems that we understand. I think it starts firstly by just asking the right questions. There's other things that you can consider as a business analyst. One of them is seeking clarity. Don't be afraid to seek clarity. So before attempting to solve a problem, take the time to fully understand it. What we call that is problem analysis. A lot of the time we move to solution analysis and we skip a very important element as business analysts, which is problem analysis. So this involves conducting the research, gathering the data, and speaking with stakeholders who are impacted by the problem. By seeking clarity, you can ensure that you fully understand the problem and can identify the root causes. Another thing that you can do as a business analyst or a problem solver is ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, even if they seem basic or obvious. By asking questions, you can gain a deeper understanding of the problem and identify any gaps in your knowledge and your assumptions. Another important element is listening to feedback. Listen to feedback or listening to feedback from your stakeholders who are impacted by the problem. It's very important, especially those that are impacted by the problem and not necessarily the top executives or the sponsors. You need to go to the root of the problem, and that root you will find most highly from, or rather predominantly from, the people who are actually facing that problem. So that's why it's very important to not necessarily hear the loudest person in the room or be biased and hear the person who's sponsoring you, but to actually hear the people who are going to be using that solution. Their insights and their perspectives is going to be very valuable in helping you to understand the problem and identify potential solutions. The other important thing that a business analyst can do is you can define the problem statement. So when you define the problem statement, you just make it clear and it has specific terms. So what this will do is it will ensure that everyone involved has a shared understanding of the problem and can then work towards a common goal. Another thing that's also very important is checking your assumptions. Please check your assumptions and your biases at the door before you get in or attempt to solving a problem. You need to be fully aware of your assumptions and your biases and check them against the available data and the feedback from the stakeholders. This will help ensure that your solutions are based on accurate information and they are not biased. The other important element that you can do as a business analyst is you can test and validate your solutions before implementing. So test and validating your potential solutions before implementing them just means that you can help identify any unintended consequences or potential risks associated with the solution and ensure that it is effective in solving the problem. The last thing that you can do as a business analyst is collaborate and communicate. It's one of the skills as well in the Global State of the Business Analysis report. The ability to communicate, to communication skills. So when you collaborate with others who have different perspectives, different backgrounds, different cultures, different expertise to develop the solution, you actually help to develop effective, sustainable, and sticky or solutions that will stick. So you also communicate openly, which is very important. You need to be transparent with your stakeholders throughout the process to ensure that everyone is aligned and also invested in the solution. Another framework that I think is very important that you can consider is the heart, the art, and the science framework. The heart is the people. The science is the systems, the processes, the technologies, the tools, and the techniques. And the art could just be the meaning that you are adding to the work. So that's just another technique that you can use. And maybe let me explain it. When you start off with the heart, and that's going to be your basis or the foundation that you start with. That means you're empathizing with the consumer. I spoke about it as well in the previous slide, where you have to understand that consumer's problem. More than you understand the sponsor's problem, more than you understand your own biases around the problem. Hear it from the horse's mouth. Then you frame the problem, which means you just actually get to define the problem in a well-articulated and a structured way. The other thing is then you design a tailor-made solution. As I said earlier on, the problems are cyclical and problems are dynamic, and that problems change, with time. And I think that also applies to them being dynamic. You need to also then design a tailor-made solution for that particular consumer. So in 3 simple steps, you just follow to help you better understand the problem and then solve for it. When you neglect any of the 3, if you're neglecting either the heart, meaning that you're not going to liaise or communicate with your consumer and just move straight to the science, which means you're getting into your processes and your technologies and also adding a flavor to it, which is the art. If you neglect any of these, you're undermining the other, which means you're also then undermining the ultimate solution. Make sure that you're always constantly also going back to your stakeholders to confirm that the solution really, really solves for their problem. The other thing I think I want to add as well about problem solving is that it is iterative, it's not definitive. So you have to continuously ask for feedback, which is going back to empathy, continuously asking for feedback. Is this solution still working for you? Has anything changed? Has there been another element or factor or object that I need to be cognizant of in continuously solving for this problem? Because it's not a target that you meet and then you close off the project and life continues. You're continuously checking it to ensure that it still meets the requirements of the users. Example, the Nokia one, where they don't continuously check if it meets the requirements of the users, they could end up being wiped out of the market by other innovators who are actually checking what the market needs. So as I said already about the ego, it's very important that the top executives don't have an ego or a bias towards a solution, that they're not open to empathizing, that they're not open to hearing the views of other members in their organization. Another important element in our ad break is that nobody has a monopoly on good ideas. So what that means as a business analyst is that you have to be humble and open in your problem-solving endeavor. You have to acknowledge that no one person, no one group has all the answers all the time. So the best solutions emerge from a collaboration and a collective problem-solving effort. By embracing this mindset, individuals and organizations can unlock their full potential and create a lasting impact in their respective fields. Let's then talk about IBA. I am, as Oge mentioned, the president of IBA South Africa. And IBA is an organization, as mentioned, a non-profit organization that supports the discipline of business analysis. So in our support of the discipline of business analysis on the BABOK, there are many techniques that have been prescribed as guidance, or prescribed as guidance for people who are solving problems. One of those is root cause analysis. The other one is SWOT analysis. The other one is fishbone diagram. The other one is decision-making matrix. The other one is brainstorming. The other one is pestle analysis. And I do want to just speak to pestle analysis, because pestle analysis then looks at a more holistic view, which is your political interferences that could cause you not to be able to solve the right problem. It could be economic issues, it could be sociological issues, it could be technological issues, it could be legal issues, and it could even be environmental issues. So these are just some of the frameworks and the techniques and the tools that you can use as a business analyst to solve for problems. If, for instance, you were in car maintenance and you were working with, let's look at a luxury car brand, BMW, Mercedes, etc. What you'd use is a diagnostic tool of problem analysis. So you'd actually connect this particular solution into the engine, which is the heart of the problem, and then it will help identify what the actual problem is. So as business analysts, you need to also do the same. You need to connect your diagnostic tool, which could be your root cause analysis, your SWOT analysis, your fishbone. You need to connect it to the heart of the problem to ensure that you're solving for the right problem. Because if you just want to jump into solution mode and then assume that the problem with the car is I'm not really good with car problems, but let's say the problem with the car is the the exhaust, okay? Had to think hard on that one. So let's say the problem is the exhaust, and that's your assumption. And then you go and you replace the exhaust only to find that the problem was the alternator. So it's very, very important to use a diagnostic tool in your problem analysis. It really is, it helps you to be more systematic in your problem solving methods. So as a business analyst, it's also important, as mentioned, to use a diagnostic tool or a combination of many diagnostic tools. Another element that's very important that you can consider to use is embracing the design thinking principles. And those are just empathizing again, which is a very important skill to have with the consumer, then defining the actual problem, ideating it with your stakeholders, then having a prototype that you can test before you actually implement. It's very important to test it before you implement so that you can be sure that what you're actually solving for is the right problem. Because if you're just going to implement and then test later, you'll find that you've now cost the organization money. And as you know, there's many resultant issues with then solving or implementing a problem that you did not solve for correctly. Let's then move on to the next, in the interest of time, I'm going to move on a bit quicker now. Let's move on to the ad break. Problems are solved by people and not technologies. Very important. I know there's many technologies that are out now, ChatGPT, mind-blowing technologies and platforms that are really helping people. But always keep in mind that as much as the technologies are there, the problems are solved by the people and not those technologies. So these technologies, as I mentioned, they definitely can play a role in problem solving. But at the end of the day, it's the people, it's you, it's the business analysts, the problem solvers behind the technology that are responsible for creating effective solutions. The phrase emphasizes that the importance of human creativity. So humans still matter. Robots are not taking over. Human creativity still is very, very important. Human ingenuity is very, very important. And human problem-solving skills and finding effective solutions to complex problems is also very, very important. So while technology can be very, very powerful in helping people solve problems, it cannot replace human intelligence and the decision-making abilities. I'm hoping that will calm anyone that may be stressed that technology is going to take over their jobs. A few more slides left. How do we know that you're solving the right problem? Very, very important question. How do you know? So you've checked with your diagnostic tools, you've gone through the problem analysis to ensure that you understand the problem better. Then how do you know, once you're done with all of that, that you're actually solving the right problem? Firstly, you check with your stakeholders. One of the best ways to ensure that you're solving for the right problem is to check with the stakeholders who are mostly affected by the problem. This may include your customers, your employers, your employees, or other members of the community. It's just to get their input on whether the problem that you have identified is the right one and whether your proposed solution addresses their needs. We spoke about testing the solution as well before investing too much time and resources into solving the problem. And that's an agile way of thinking and having an agile mindset, iterating and testing before you actually implement a particular solution, and iterating, or by that meaning continuously improving that particular solution. It's very important to see that that problem that you're solving for at a very small scale, that it does actually work. It will also help you identify any flaws and shortcomings in your approach and make adjustments as needed. The other one is measuring your success. So once you've implemented the solution, then you must, or before you've implemented, you need to set clear metrics for success that you'll be tracking and monitoring over time. So one of the other ways is just to help you to see the solution is actually making a difference and if you are on the right track. Another thing that you need to be cognizant of and very aware of as a business analyst is that you must continuously be open to feedback. Finally, the process of solving a problem is really straightforward. So you may need to make changes if necessary and pivot based on the new information or any unexpected obstacles. So you must remain flexible, you must remain agile, you must remain open-minded, you must remain, as I mentioned, open to feedback, so that you can ensure that you're always moving in the right direction. That means the ego again. I have to emphasize the ego. If you can reduce it a bit, you will help the organization and you will help your reputation and your corporate credibility as well. Another ad break before the last two slides. If I were given 1 hour to save the planet, I would spend 59 minutes defining the problem and 1 minute resolving it. In the context of problem solving, this quote emphasizes the importance of taking a structured and an analytical approach to problem solving rather than jumping straight into developing solutions. So you take the time to define the problem and its underlying causes, then you increase the likelihood of finding a sustainable and an effective solution. So what do you need to do as a business analyst with all the information that's been provided? Firstly, you need to ensure that as a BA, it's extremely incumbent on you as a business analyst to continuously ask questions. Questions like, are we solving the right problem? What else is missing? Why are we doing this? Ask these questions in a very sincere and in honest manner, because people can pick up, how you ask the questions if you're genuine. Because at the end of the day, it's very important to recognize that real problems need real and tangible solutions. In order for you to go forth and conquer, in order for you to stay relevant in your profession as a business analyst, in order for you to stay relevant as a problem solver, in order for you to stay the best business analyst in the market, you need to adapt to the new game of the business analyst. And that is that you are a problem solver, that you are a thought leader, that you are a go-to person, that you are a trusted advisor, that you are building sustainable relationships, that you are delighting people, and that you are guiding them through their problems, that you are also strategic and challenging the status quo. Very important. Don't be afraid as a business analyst to challenge the status quo. That's what you're hired to do, to ask those uncomfortable questions. So please don't forget that those are the things that you as a business analyst have been equipped and empowered to do. Business analysis is a very important skill set, and it's not just a skill set, it's not just a tool set, it's also a mindset, and it's a mindset of transformation, a mindset of adding value, a mindset of tapping into the infinite number of possibilities and not just going with the same old solutions that people have proposed 10 years ago. Very, very important as a business analyst to add value onto your projects and the products that you are also working on, and to have impact over your job title. Very, very important. Don't worry too much about the job title, worry more about the impact. Leadership is a choice. Choose to lead the organization without necessarily having the title. Then the other thing that I want to add, the last thing is that you need to also, as part of problem solving, is you need to continuously think before you act. And always remember that nothing grows from your comfort zone. So if you want to grow as a business analyst and you want to be, as I mentioned, the go-to person, the trusted advisor, the thought leader, the problem solver, you need to take yourself out of that comfort zone, which means if your organization is boxing you into one way of solving problems, have those uncomfortable ways of solving problems, have those uncomfortable approaches, have those uncomfortable problem solving initiatives in order to ensure that you are solving for the right problem and then keeping your organization as a going concern. A, B, ensuring that the reputation of the profession, which is the business analysis profession, remains intact at all times. So I want to just say thank you to everybody who's joined the call. I really appreciate having you here. It's about, I'm sure, 2 a.m. In South African time. So I've enjoyed my morning, very early morning with you. And I look forward to continuing the conversation with you all. I'm open to a question or two as well, Oge. Thank you so much as well for inviting me through here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been an evening full of learning. I've learned new frameworks, new way of thinking, and I don't know about others here. Thank you, everyone. Let me see. The last time I checked, it was a comment I saw, and I think I'll read out that comment to you. Yeah, and thanks for the very rich presentation. I know you spent a lot of time putting this together. The slides are beautiful, I must say. Thank you so much. And of course, the knowledge shared, the case studies. So Babatunde says here, these case studies are not only real, but looking at them from the viewpoint of a BA, like what you are presenting adds valuable context to the entire presentation. And he says your presentation far exceeds his expectation. Thank you. Thank you so much for today's presentation. So please, if we have any question, and we can come off mute and ask her directly, so she can quickly take that, and we'll let her go and catch some sleep before work tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Oge, and thank you also for the comments. I really appreciate them. And I look forward to the community continuing to solve real problems, because only real problems will bring sustainable and real solutions. So I look forward to you as business analysts and problem solvers continuing to do the right work, not only for the organizations, but also for your conscience.
Did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Sorry.
Okay.
I have a toddler that is running all over the place, so I'm just gonna change. Okay. So first of all, I just want to mention that this presentation was really very great. I said that already, but and if you don't mind, I'm sure I'm not breaching any privacy rules here, but I was taking screenshots of your presentation. So the question I do have is, so you did mention some things about how, as BAs, we need to do a sort of deep dive and sort of sit back and relax and digest the problem that we're trying to solve, instead of switching into a solution mindset. So within or during that period where we are thinking about that solution that we're trying to solve on the problem, how much information or what position should we be taking in that regard? And what I'm asking basically is, from experience, I find myself in a situation where I am working closely with subject matter experts, and I assume the position of a BA, and I lean on the subject matter experts to give me all of the information that I need within that domain, right? But I do have some other BAs who are of the opinion that I should put on the hat of the subject matter expert and have enough knowledge about that domain to be able to solve the problem. So in brief, what I'm just trying to ask is, do we lean on the SMEs to give us the needed information about that domain? Or should we take more time in trying to understand the domain by reading more documentation, doing certifications if need be within that domain to be able to understand that domain to be able to provide a solution? And the downside on the former, that being in a position of the SME would require that we spend more time in solving that problem. So I just want to know what your thoughts are in that area.
Thank you so much for the question, Baba. A very, very important question. So having had a look at the global state of the business analysis reports that I did speak about earlier, they do speak about having what they call business knowledge. So as a business analyst, it's also important for you to have the business knowledge and not 100% rely on the subject matter experts to give you that information. You could potentially end up frustrating them because you're constantly going to them every 2 seconds for information that you could source yourself. So as a business analyst, I think it's very, very important to get the business knowledge. You've answered the question, actually. You spoke about also getting certifications or information around it. It's extremely important for your solution or it's important for you in order to get to the right solution as well, to dig a bit deeper into the business that you're in. I spoke about Eskom. I'm not necessarily in the business of Eskom, but I need to understand their operating model. I need to understand other challenges that they could be facing without necessarily having to have a subject matter expert tell me. This will help enrich the conversation that I have with the subject matter experts. They'll also show initiative that I'm actually serious about solving the problem. Let me see what else is on here that could be useful to answering this. You spoke about getting knowledge. I think that speaks to the architecture of the business, the strategies of the business, the goals of the business, the challenges that the business faces. These are aspects that you as a business analyst need to do and dig into and understand better. But with that being said, you are not then going to be the solution provider alone, right? So you need to collaborate with your subject matter experts and many other stakeholders. We spoke about the consumers or the customers. We spoke about many others as the presentation was continuing. But in a nutshell, what that means is that you're collaborating for the sustainability of the solution, for also ensuring that you are deriving or getting the best solution. So people are very, very important in your solving problem strategy, but respect yourself, respect your profession, and make sure that you've also done some homework. So when you speak with authority. When you speak with confidence. When you speak with comfort, because you have done your part in ensuring that you're not part of the problem, but you're adequately part of the solution. I know I've gone into some detail. Is there an aspect of your question that I may have missed that you'd like me to enhance or add on?
You have actually answered it, and thank you so much for that response. Yeah, you've answered my question. And the reason why I actually asked that question is because I am within the insurance. I work as a BA within the insurance industry, and I recently got a job currently I'm within the financial industry. So I recently got a job with an auto insurance company. So I've been a bit skeptical about like maybe doing a sort of insurance certification to be able to fully understand the insurance domain as it pertains to financial and auto insurance. But I think right now your response has made me make that decision that I really need to do it, to be able to fully understand all the things that I need to be able to work better as a BA. So thank you so much for that.
Do it. It will not be wasted. That information that you will gather will not be wasted at all. It will help you, as mentioned, for your professional credibility, your professional integrity, and ensuring that you have real conversations, real rich, comprehensive, holistic, deep conversations with the people that you're working with, and not just high-level fluffy conversations, which could inhibit you solving the real problem.
Yeah, true. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anytime.
And thanks, Baba Sunday, for asking this question. I believe a whole lot of us learned from even the question and the response provided. It's very critical to understand that we don't have to be subject matter expert, but of course we don't have to go and say, oh, come and tell me all about your process. You need to do your own work. You need to show you are a lifelong learner and you learn fast, do your research, equip yourself with knowledge before you engage those stakeholders so that you can actually have those deep conversations, like Khethelo mentioned. Do we have any more questions? We have, if we don't have any questions, we can quickly move on to the prize draws. Any more questions? Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank Khethelo. Thanks for the wonderful presentation. We really, really appreciate your time, staying up 2 a.m. to do this.